Hello, I'm Kevin Neal Smith, and here at Independence Television, our primary goal is to bring you all the information about your community, from events to people, and really just give you a view into all of the great things that are happening here in Clarkston and the surrounding areas. Now, I recently sat down with members from local community churches that coordinate Impact Weekend every year for My Habitat Clarkston. We talked about that event, we talked about volunteer opportunities and all of the other things that go along with it, and we would like to present that to you now. Hello everybody, we are here today with Pastors Jonathan, Dan, and Chris, and we're going to be discussing Impact Weekend. So let's get right into it. So Jonathan, I believe you're my history guy on this.
That's right.
How did this all come to be?
The history of this is a number of things have come together, but Clarkston Community Church and Calvary Lutheran, we had, both of us, had weekends where we did what we called the church leaves the building. We're all used to church being about people coming to the church, but our commitment, and I think the commitment of certainly our churches that are up here, and I think all of them in the community, is to make a difference in the community. So one Sunday a year, we would either have a very brief worship service or none at all, and then leave to go serve. So we were the church in the community. Well, Clarkston Community and Calvary said, well, you're doing this, we're doing this, so what would it be if we supported one another's, did 2 a year, and then that combined with the whole My Habitat Clarkston initiative, which is really to move well beyond the churches. So even though this began in churches, I want to be clear, Community Impact Weekend is not a church thing. Right. It's a community thing. It's something that all of us are about in the community. One of the things I like to talk about with this is, there's so many people that care about our community, so many people that want to do something, make a difference. And so often, in so many community organizations or students or whoever it may be, corporations, but we all sometimes do this in our own silos. We're off doing something really good. We aren't sure what the person next door or the organization down the street or whatever the case is doing as well. And this really is, the idea of this is an effort to pool the resources, pool the volunteers, seek a whole bunch of different kinds of projects at all different kinds of skill levels and energy levels and involvements, and get everybody working together to see what kind of an impact can a community like Clarkston make in a weekend. And so it began as a day in individual churches. It's now blossomed into a full weekend that involves over 1,000 volunteers and community organizations, churches, schools, individuals, businesses, corporations, our whole community. And that's what's most exciting about this.
What's cool about that is you went from maybe combating or fighting for resources and went to sharing resources, right?
Absolutely, and the collaboration, because the idea was that our church, we have a saying that we do things better together. And we mean that on so many different levels, and that's absolutely true in communities, because rather than all of us trying to seek these resources to do something, if we pool those, and especially that volunteer time, we can accomplish so incredibly much more. And that really is that vision for My Habitat Clarkston. So this is part of what My Habitat Clarkston is all about. The Community Impact Weekends, which are annually now, the first weekend in November and the last weekend in April. And then My Habitat Clarkston also, occasionally every year or two, will do a major home renovation or build, which is sort of the traditional habitat thing. And then the other piece with that is as a community clearinghouse, because we know that there are needs in the community, and we know that there are some resources and volunteers. How do we pull these things together? Yep. And so that's the big picture of this, which is really to, again, using that image of the silos, it's to get all of us out of our own individual good things so that we can do a really great thing together, better together.
Now, have the projects grown in scale once you guys started to come together?
Yeah, I've been involved in several of them well before we came together and broke down the silos, and the projects have grown from, it started out with raking leaves at senior centers, and now we're building decks, and we're painting at Lighthouse, and we're doing food gathering, we're lighting letters to to soldiers
And still raking leaves.
and still raking leaves. So, it's really a combination of things. And we'll plug in quite often with several of those nonprofits that have things that need to get done, if it's Neighbor for Neighbor or Lighthouse or Oakland Hope that needs work done so that they can continue their great work in the community, that we can provide a lot of volunteers for that. So it has grown from a little bit to, like you said, it was 1,000 people, and you talk about Saturday and Sunday, and it's grown. It's even Fridays.
Yeah, that's right.
So
That's right.
and then projects that don't get done get taken care of even later on in the months afterwards. So
That's
it's
cool.
great.
What are some of the other? You mentioned a lot of nonprofits are involved and a lot of members of the community are involved. What are some of those organizations? That
Maybe
are
Chris can share. Maybe
Yeah.
Oakland Hope. That's one of them.
And just a collaborative heart. We are better together, and so there's a big invitation to organizations in our community. Oakland Hope is one of the big ones. DRAW, Disaster Relief at Work, is a big one. Clarkston Schools, Library, the Rake and Run Seniors, and just many opportunities to plug in and be involved. See these great organizations.
And you guys have been a part of it for about 2 years now?
Yeah, a couple years now, and one of the things I love about it is the collaborative heart that exists, and it's this idea that we are better together, and when we do this in the community, we resource better, we learn more about the organizations and how we can help out. And one of my favorite things about it is that it is a springboard. It's an opportunity for us to learn more about these great organizations that are doing great things. And I've had many families, many people share about how they learned how they could help out in the community better. And that's been a great thing, hearing grandparents say, hey, I want to bring my family and come do work at Oakland Hope, or hey, I want to be involved in DRAW throughout the year. And Community Impact Weekend is a great springboard for that.
That's great.
And it involves all ages, because you mentioned family, because it's something that you can bring the kids to. It's not just an
Oh, yeah.
adult thing or teens. We always have projects that are going to be appropriate for practically all ages and all skill levels too, because it's not the thing where you have to. I mean, if you have to have a skilled trade, leave me out. So it's but what it means is that all of us can get our hands dirty or roll up our sleeves and make a difference in the community.
And it's great, and Dan and his team and Deb and her team really work hard with the organizations. We do meetings through, leading up to it. It's not just the weekend happens, but there's a lot of preparation that goes into it in working to make sure there is something for everybody across age groups.
Exactly. I would like to kind of springboard on this collaboration thing. Beyond the service projects themselves, which are really great, helping people, maybe feeding the hungry or building a deck or doing a safety project or whatever it might be. It's the relationships that are built that you don't always see in some communities. I think ours is a unique community because they really do like to work together, and you get to work with someone that's maybe in a different place than you are, and you get to know what they're about. The work is fun. But really, the most fun is just working with other people in the community. That's what's really cool.
Yeah, I've been in here for about a little over a year now. I came from Mount Pleasant, north of here, and I'm constantly amazed by the people in this community, how hard they work, how much they collaborate.
Yeah.
We were just at Taste of Clarkston over the weekend, and there all day, and it's really amazing. And I was looking at the Facebook page for My Habitat Clarkston, so I'll volley this at all of you. And I saw somebody write, and it stuck with me, that God does his best work outside of the church. Yes. Now, why is it so important, as Jonathan said, to get out there and get your hands dirty and get involved with people?
We probably all can answer. I'll jump in and start, but I think that in a sermon I preached, I said Jesus really never told people to go to church, but Jesus was real clear in saying that the church needs to go into the world. And so the idea of letting light shine, and we want to let light shine, and when you keep that inside a building, that's not what it's about. Now certainly, what we do inside our buildings is important, there's no question about it, but it really is growing people so that they have a greater sense of love for brothers and sisters, whoever they may be, wherever they've come from, and whatever the needs might be. And we can all come together because we all both have ways we can give, and we all also have needs. And when we put those things together, again, it's just better that way.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer from a senior pastor.
Amen. Yeah, and I totally agree. You know, taking a look at Jesus' life, you know, the vast majority of the miracles that he did were outside of the synagogue or outside of the place of worship. And he was out in the community. He was with people. And we're just seeking to follow Jesus' lead in that way. And so when he says, go make disciples of all nations, or when he says, you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth, we need to be out in different places. And the Community Impact Weekend is a great way for doing this.
Absolutely.
And I, again, want to say, too, that even though this sort of grew out of church ministries, this is not just for church people. This is the kind of thing that, in fact, many people that serve and are served may have no church connection, and that's just fine, because we're all in this community together, and we all want to make a difference. And so no matter where we come from, we want a chance to be together in that. And so it really is for the whole community to get involved in really meaningful ways.
Absolutely. One of the things being involved in somewhat of the details of planning is what really excites me is when we're sitting around the table, either at our conference room or at your conference room, and there's churches involved, but the other 10 or 12 people are all from a different farm or a different organization or a PTO parent group or schools or Ace Hardware.
Neiman's or whatever the case may be.
So that what makes it exciting. It's not just a bunch of us church people there.
It's just about human connection.
It's about people.
Now, do you have what are some of the projects that are going to be done at this next Impact Weekend?
Yeah, we're pulling them together. It's only 4 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
There is clearly the senior center, the rake and run is a big one. Typically there's 15 to 20 senior homes that will go and do a cleanup and a rake, leaf rake
I did bring
position.
my list if
Did
you
you?
want it.
Oh yeah, look at that. And then there's, very good. There's a community garden. Oh, that's a good one. I like the canines one where they visit, people take their dogs to a senior center.
Yeah, that is
We
and
did
do
something
home
similar.
visitation.
We did something similar to that when I was in college. They would bring dogs to the library during finals week for kids to
that's
pet,
cool.
and it's amazing, like the stress release
The
you get just from the therapeutic
Yeah,
aspect.
It's
really
one
does.
of the most popular projects.
It is.
It really
It
is. Clarkson Schools, we do some work with them. We work with the library. Disaster relief at work, that's gotten a lot of attention recently with the hurricanes. There's a great need there to fill buckets and go on those projects. So
I was excited.
Oakland Hope, what other
we
ones?
had a new one with, which one is it? Oh, well, I know we had some new ones that have come in as well.
like an oats therapy, they're
I can speak. One of the newer ones is Center for Success in Pontiac.
that's right. That's
and
right.
It's an inner city mentoring tutoring time, and
cool.
so just supporting that organization. So, just wonderful to have all these organizations in the community.
How far reaching is it? Is it just Clarkson,
It's
Waterford?
growing.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you go further.
We call it the Clarkston-Davisburg Community Impact Weekend. So that's really sort
that's
of the
the
heart.
region.
But I would say that that's really where most of the volunteers come from. But again, anybody can be involved. But the projects then really do go out into those surrounding areas. So certainly into Pontiac, into Waterford, into other areas around, because we know that our community is more than just the street we live on, or the block, or the zip code, that we really are in this together in that way. And so we want to help the whole area. So I think the biggest name for it would be to call it the Clarkston-Davisburg Area Community Impact Weekend, because it's in the area. That's what we're looking at.
And how do people get involved volunteer-wise? There's a clearinghouse, right? Isn't there some kind of clearinghouse for?
Yep, there is. Right now, we got actually a new phone number so that they can go directly to a particular place for the phone number, which Pastor Jonathan is hosting.
So for the Impact Weekend, 248-625-3288, and that's actually Calvary's phone number, but then it's extension 202 is dedicated to receiving calls for information with us, and we'll make sure that does get. And then we also do have the website, and I think we'll be showing that instead
we'll
of
put
doing
the-
that verbally, we'll put that at the bottom.
that on
of
the
And
screen.
each one of our websites at our churches have the link as
Links
well.
there.
Yeah. And the
So-
Chamber of Commerce, because the Chamber, I do want to highlight that the Chamber of Commerce has been very, very involved from the very beginning with this, and the support again, they're designed to bring people together, and so to see our chamber become so involved with this kind of a community service projects is very exciting. And again, I don't know that this happens in all communities, but I can tell you it happens
Yeah,
here in a
they're
big
fully
way.
engaged, fully
So,
engaged.
Yeah.
So it's a really cool model. Are there some hopes that this model will continue to grow, keep building, get more and more communities brought in, tied in?
Oh yeah, and again, it's a collaborative heart, and so it is an invitation for organizations to join, and we'll see what happens from there. But I really love it. We are better together, and I've seen this grow, and I've seen the way that we've reached out to other churches, organizations, businesses, and individuals.
One of the things I do hope it becomes contagious in other communities. I know most communities probably have some way that they engage in some volunteerism in some ways. I think what is true of this is working collaboratively also with Habitat. This is but this is a grassroots kind of thing that is really trying to draw these entities together, because most communities have various social service agencies and churches and everybody doing good stuff. And I think what is the vision for this that I really do hope we can share with others is how much it's worth it to break down the barriers, the silos, to get out of that and pull together. And so anytime I get a chance to talk about that, I do share that because I guess I'm just so passionate about it. And to me, it just makes sense. I mean, I don't know why we all sometimes are doing similar things separately.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. So.
Well, it's awesome. You're building bridges.
Yep.
That's amazing. Does anybody have any anecdotes or stories to share from past Impact weekends?
Yeah, and if I could share just the way that people have come together, and again, that it allows people to see what's going on in our community and to see it together as families. Again, there is something for everybody, regardless of age or opportunity. There's something for everybody to be involved in. And then when people can see what's going on in the community and the great organizations and the ways that they can be involved in the great things that are going on, it really feeds upon itself. And so while the Impact weekends happen, on the last weekend of April and the first weekend of November, it really is something far bigger than just those couple days there. And so I'm thankful for that.
And I know each of us probably have some stories, but I was looking at our list, and we work at the Oats Horse Therapy Farm, and generally, or sometimes in the November timeframe, we're putting up Christmas decorations and doing this kind of stuff and sort of closing things up for the winter time. And one of the exciting things is there are a lot of people that have driven by there for all their life and didn't even know it was there. And what I have seen that I love is the sense of discovery, to say, wow, I didn't know our community did stuff like this. This is really cool. And then what happens is a person may put up some Christmas lights at a place like Oats, and then they're going back again. They're saying, well, how else can I get involved? What else can I do? And that's what I see, is this sense of it opens doors and helps people discover things they didn't know.
There's almost like a trickle-down effect
It
there,
is.
right?
It is,
where
without a
people
doubt.
get more and more
Without a doubt.
involved and
Yeah.
realize that they love doing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the rake and runs, without a doubt, there's always one or two elderly women that come out onto the porch, and they have seen all these leaves in their yard. How are they going to do this? And when this massive group comes and rakes them out, puts them in a pile, and because they're either very beaming with pride or just actually crying with just great satisfaction that that this was done for them. So that means a lot.
No,
Just
the fun
raking
thing
leaves.
is
Just raking leaves, touching lives, no big deal.
Yeah, and we do have lunches, so we provide lunches. And one of my favorite memories is seeing over at Neiman's, putting together 1,000 sandwiches and sacked lunches to take out to these volunteers over the weekend. I mean,
Neiman's
what a production. And it's just incredible
They've been a
at
great
that scale.
partner.
Yeah, and it's just neat that way. Yeah.
Amen. Hey, one other one is Oakland Hope, and we get to see these organizations grow in the course of this. And so when a couple years ago, Impact Weekend, we went to Oakland Hope, and some 40 or 50 volunteers, spent the weekend there and did some great work. And they had bought the old Office Max over in Summit Place Mall. And Oakland Hope is an organization that seeks to help people in crisis in various ways. And so seeing the growth there and the transformation there. And it's beautiful on the inside. They now have a fully functional store. I believe yesterday they just launched their food pantry. And so we celebrate those accomplishments. We celebrate with them and we encourage them. I know that Impact Weekend has been a big blessing to Norma and to that crew, as well as many other organizations.
And I would lift up one other that, again, we talk about different skill levels, and I know that usually we have some folks that are making quilts or blankets or whatever. And I know that this fall we'll have a group that will be working on some quilts for the No One Dies Alone program at St. Joe's Hospital in Pontiac, which is just such an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Something that's presented to a person at that point of departure from this life into the next, and to think that on a community impact weekend, it may be raking a leaf or pounding a nail, but it may be a needle and thread, and that all of those are ways that people can get involved. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, and I think especially in today's world, it's very important to be able to express empathy and get people helping one another, not thinking just about their own thing. So it's beautiful what you guys are doing. It's truly amazing. Keep up the good work. Thanks for meeting with us today. And unless anyone has anything extra.
I wonder, what about the Bowman Chevrolet event? If everybody wanted to get involved at some point in the future, I think there's an event coming up. It's typically in March.
Yeah.
Right?
What is the Bowman Chevrolet event?
It's a gala event that raises for My Habitat Clarkston that supports the Impact Weekend, supports the clearinghouse idea throughout the year, and then supports the major builds or renovations we have.
And I believe that has like a silent auction. It has a local band
also,
I think plays.
Great food.
I was there last year.
It's a good event, and so as we see things grow, because this just began, I guess my last thought on this is, it's fun to see how things can grow, because this really began as an idea of saying, wouldn't it be better if we could just sort of get together and do this? I mean, and build the relationships. And I look at the relationships that are built among churches, into the schools, into the chamber, into businesses, and all this kind of stuff. But what began as just a few people with a dream is now over 1,000 people serving on a weekend. And I just think that's awesome. And that's only going to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any other final thoughts?
I'm good.
Yeah, count it as an absolute privilege to be a part of this, and we love when people join us in it. So let's make our community a better place.
It's a great way of putting it.
Well said.
Let's make our community a better place. So we will get the information out there for how you can volunteer, and hopefully we'll see you out at the next Impact Weekend.